Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Project Football for an England preview show. We did record one of these before, but I messed up. So here we are. But this one is sort of the first one, if you will. But no, it should be good. It's definitely a series we want to continue if England can stay in the tournament. But I don't want to jinx anything. So anyway, we'll get straight into it. We're going to start off with kind of looking at how England performed in the last game and kind of touch on how Germany did as well and interlude that and how the two compare in a way. Then later on, we'll look at kind of how we think Southgate will line up and what our combined lineup would be. Obviously, our score prediction and just some little bits in between and whatnot. But let's get straight into it. Anyway, Brandon, how are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. I'm absolutely terrified, to be completely honest with you. And that's all I can think about. I'm terrified
It
because
is a very scary
especially
game.
with the way that the draws turned out as well, if we go through, which is exciting, but not to get our hopes up kind of thing.
If we go through on paper, this should be the only hard game.
That's what scares me, though.
The rest should be easy. But then I suppose it'd be better to go out now and not get humiliated by one of the lower teams if we went through. So I don't know. But no, I wouldn't wish that upon England. We got to beat the Germans. Come on, boys. But yeah, anyway, let's get straight into it, mate. So our last game was against the Czech Republic, who are starting to look like the dark horses of the tournament, not Turkey. I feel like them beating the Netherlands the other day 2-0 really puts into perspective how big a win that was for England at Wembley against the Czech Republic. Because, realistically, if it was the other way around, we'd have been playing the Netherlands, and that's not a fixture I want. I'm actually more impressed now after the game has happened than I was when I actually watched the performance. So I suppose what were your thoughts on it anyway? I mean, I thought it was a bit of a 1-0 bore game other than the goal itself. A good bit of play, but then it all kind of phased out for the rest of the game after that.
Yeah, it was a weird one. It kind of fell into the bracket of where the teams want to finish in the table. Like it felt like that might have played a bit, or just because it was the last game. I don't really know. It did seem a bit drab in the second half, didn't it? But
yeah.
At the end of the day, they're a dangerous team. They've got dangerous players. The game against Netherlands, like I say, does put into perspective. I think it says more about the Netherlands than it does the Czech, to be fair. But that's not to take anything away from Czech, because they were brilliant and they were pretty good throughout the group stage as well. But the 1-0 for England. We were definitely the better team. Obviously, we introduced a few new players in, whereas Czech kind of stuck with the same team. But if we put our foot down in that game, I think we could have put 3 past them, which says a lot to say we didn't even have Mount in there either. So if they're a really difficult team to dissect at the minute, Czech, which is exactly what makes them dark horses. So the game, we could have put more past them, but there was other factors that I guess kind of played the cards in the end. So I don't know. I don't really know what to take from the game against Czech, but look, we got through. We got through at the end of the day. We won the group, and that's pretty much all that matters in tournament football: winning games. I've seen people on Twitter kind of criticize the fact that a lot of our recent results have been 1-0, but at the end of the day, it's winning football games. Even before this goes back to before the Euros as well. But it doesn't matter. It's about winning games. It's not about putting 3-4 past teams. So I like how we're getting the results. And the fact that the Netherlands didn't get the result against Czech, like you said, does put it into perspective a bit. And they might be the dark horses going on this side of the draw.
Exactly, mate. I completely agree. But no, like we've said it before and happily say it again, defense wins you championships. So, it's very impressive that England have not conceded a single goal in the group stage. And hopefully we can carry that on in the knockout stage. But this will probably although Czech were a very tough test, I feel that Germany will be our toughest test yet. Because this is no regular fixture, and the Germans can turn up when they need to. And I mean, you can look at their last result, the draw against Hungary, as as quite anticlimactic, I suppose, for when you compare the two squads. On paper, Germany should breeze through that, especially with the game being in Munich as well. I just feel like for them to not win that game, it doesn't look good on them. However, Hungary have been very impressive in that group of death, and I think they are actually a better team than some of the teams that have made it into the final 16. But that's just how the Euros works. It is how it is. But no, Germany obviously will want to improve on their last performance, and they will certainly be up for it against England. The age old rivalry, and it's not going to be easy, but England, I feel like, definitely should probably win this game. And Germany have really probably struggled to score that many goals. I suppose obviously they've scored more than England, but a lot of their goals have been quite poor. Despite probably one of them, which was just some good wing play and Gozens being there to finish. He's been quite impressive in this tournament. But, their goals haven't been, you don't watch them and you don't fear the team. You don't see a team there that look like they're going to go and win the Euros. But that can change in an instant, as we all know. So, no, I'm not. I'm scared because it's England versus Germany, but I'm not scared of this German squad whatsoever. And I definitely would back the boys to go on to win this game.
I think we're definitely capable. To be honest, I think it's a 50-50. I honestly think it's that close. Maybe slightly leaning towards England, but you've got to give credit to Lowe for getting through that group because of the opposition that were in there. And like you said, they've scored more goals than us in a tougher group. I think
Yeah,
that actually does speak volumes, to be honest. Say what you want about the quality of the goals, but at the end of the day, they're putting goals past teams. It's, I guess, game management and stuff like that they've probably struggled a bit more with. But and that kind of, I guess, showed in both the France and the Hungary game. But look, at the end of the day, the group stage is done now. It's all about the knockout stages. One game of football. It won't rely on other results. It will go to 120 minutes plus penalties. Is it 120? Yeah.
yeah,
Fucking mine went back for a second. But 120 plus penalties if you need it. It's just that one game that matters. So it's different from group stage football. This is knockout football. So it can go either way. And for me, it's a 50-50. I agree with what Gary Neville said on a Sky interview last week, something, when he said if it's France that we get out of the group, then it's like a 70-30. But if it's Portugal or Germany, then it's a 50-50. And I completely agree with that because they're a dangerous team, as we'll see when we get into the sort of tactical breakdown and an analysis. But yeah, I wouldn't write off Germany whatsoever, to be honest. And to be honest, for me, they've exceeded my expectations of them so far.
yeah. I think that's fair. That German squad on paper should probably play or look more effective than it has. But Germany have struggled in qualifying. They qualify by the skin of their teeth. They've struggled in recent years in general. I mean, even the last World Cup, they were poor, really, really poor.
Yeah, they were.
And I'm surprised Lowe has stayed in the Germany job for as long as he has, but obviously he's leaving after this tournament. And I think Germany do need that refresh. So that'll be good for them. However, that doesn't undermine Lowe's managerial capability whatsoever. He's still a top quality manager at this level and can pull it out of the bag when he needs to. And this is a big game, and he is a big game player, realistically, or manager, however you want to call it, and change the term, I suppose. But yeah, no, it's not going to be an easy game for England. But I do think we're favourites, but we're favourites against Scotland, and look how that turned out. If there is one thing I can say, we cannot perform like that again. Otherwise, we will get hurt a lot more than we did last time.
I don't think we will, to be completely honest. I think that's even just the Croatia game is at least a benchmark. Anything lower than that, I can't. Well, I don't even think I need to say that. We all know the thoughts on that. But yeah, I can't see us dropping to that Scotland level again. To be completely honest, I don't think Southgate will let them. I don't think the players will let themselves really, just because they knew how poor that was. Let's face it, they all knew. All the players knew their role in that. But yeah, just off your point about the German team and low, they have underperformed at recent tournaments. Well, did they get to the semi-final of the last Euros, something like that? But at the end of the day, they've been squads capable of winning both of the last tournaments. Let's face it, they're brilliant players. Let's ignore the opposition just for a minute.
I mean, even Wales got to the semi-finals of the last Euros. It's not.
It might have been the quarters.
There's no medals there.
Yeah, true. But at the end of the day, we won a World Cup with them, and this, to be honest, look, it's not the squad it used to be, and it's aging. My criticism of Germany would be that they're quite naive to other teams. I feel like what Southgate's realised with this England squad is that our weakest point is a defence. So he's gone with a double pivot. He's gone with a little bit of a more of a pragmatic style to protect that. Look, yeah, it does take away from the attacking impetus a bit, but we're covering our biggest vulnerability, right? Germany have the biggest vulnerability, biggest vulnerability is us, their defence. It's slow. It may be other than Rudiger, but, Hummels, Ginter, Gosens is very unexperienced at international level. He's only really come through over the last year. Kimmich is playing in a more advanced role as kind of a wing back. Their defense is their weakest part, and they play a high line. I think it stems a lot down to the fact that Neuer is their goalkeeper, and he's well known for being that sort of sweep keeper. But look, if you play a line as high as they did against sort of like a France, they're just going to get picked off. I'm sure you saw that clip of Hummels getting beat by Mbappe in a foot race when he was about 12 yards behind him. But
yeah,
that kind of says everything, to be honest. And England have got that threat. England can punish that, and that. But like I said, that's my criticism of Germany. I think they're quite naive to that, whereas we kind of have addressed it, if you know what I mean. Whereas they kind of ignored it. If Germany sat in, soaked up pressure, and hit teams on the break, they could win the tournament. They've got that much pace and ability up front. Sané.
That's how I imagine them to be against England, to be honest. It wouldn't surprise me.
I don't think they will. I think this is my criticism of Germany. I think they want to keep the ball, but I don't think they've got. I think they've definitely got the players to do it in midfield, but Kroos aging. Gundogan, is it really his strength? Really passing the ball around? I think his best is breaking in the box. Goretzka, I've not really watched too much of, to be honest. But I think if Germany played to their strengths more, they could do a lot better in the tournament. But I think they're too naive, and they want the ball. They want, yeah. I think honestly, if they played to their strengths, they'd be a lot more threatening. I'm not saying they're not threatening, but I think they'll have the ball against England. I think they'll be naive to that. I don't think they'll address their biggest flaw in their team, which is the high line, the pace and behind of England. I might be completely wrong in this, but this is what I've seen of Germany so far in the tournament, and this is what I saw before the tournament started. They even lost 6-0 to Spain. Don't be surprised if Germany want to keep the ball, but if Germany do that, I do think it's quite naive.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Germany, they're going to be tough to beat at the end of the day. But I do think this is, compared to previous years, this is a poor Germany squad. And the England squad on paper, for me, I think is a lot better. However, I'd be very disappointed if Southgate took Grealish out and brought Mount back in, and even if he made any changes compared to that Czech Republic game, because I want to see Saka and Grealish stay in the team. I want to see a back four of Stones, Maguire, Shaw, and Walker. I obviously want to have Pickford in goal. I'm happy with Rice and Phillips. I want Saka in there, Kane in there, Sterling. I think they all deserve to be in that squad. And if Southgate changes that squad, then to be honest, I think there'd be only one man to blame if we lost that Germany game if he changes the squad, because he shouldn't change that squad from the last game. He really shouldn't.
Well, you might think that, but at the end of the day, if he puts that squad out and it ends up losing, then you might think to ourselves, "Oh, you saw Germany playing a high line, Southgate. Why didn't you play Sterling? Why didn't you play Rashford? There was all that space in behind." And I get the point, and to extent, I agree. To be honest, I'd go with kind of a blend of both what we think Southgate would do and what I'd like to do, or what everyone thinks we should do.
You just want Mason Mount in there. Just be honest.
To be honest, Mason Mount wouldn't be in my team, but I'd actually agree with you. I'd probably stick with Grealish. But look, when we get into the kind of lineup and I do my screen share and tactical board, we'll kind of discuss that and address that issue. And right, can you see this?
I can, yes.
Okay, let me just cross that. Okay, right then, guys. So this is the kind of team that I've lined up here. This isn't my team, by the way.
I was going to say.
This is based off a probable lineup by FOTMob, and I've got some plays in here based off other predicted lineups I've seen off the likes of SofaScore and so on. So yeah, this is the predicted lineup that they think Southgate is going to go with, which is matching up Germany and their wing backs. Before we dismiss it, let's look at the strengths and the weaknesses of us matching Germany up here. All right, so Germany put 4 past Portugal, and a big part of that was how effective Gosens and Kimmich were on the wings, right? That is one of their biggest strengths, how attacking these are, especially Gosens. So Reece James playing there, I don't mind. If we were to play the back 5, by the way. James, I don't mind. Very good defensively and good going forward. Look, I know people are like, "Oh, you're worried about defending too much. You know, it's quite negative." But James can easily just push Gosens back. Just because we're matching them up doesn't mean James can't do this and actually stop Gosens from doing this.
Yeah,
right. That it doesn't mean that whatsoever. Although James is probably more of a defensive player than say.
However, James did struggle to track back against Scotland.
No. I think that was more the fact that we were just trying so hard to break them down. To be honest, we saw the play James has been at Chelsea all season. I don't think he's all of a sudden lost his mojo. He might have done, I don't know. But I'm just going to say that he hasn't. But yeah, Gosens is a player that does worry me. But there has been rumours in the media that Lowe's not happy with him, which I struggle to say. I think it's been quite impressive so far. If that does happen and Germany do play a back 4, you'll probably see Chan go in there and then maybe Ginn to come out and Süle come in, something like that. But I don't see a reason why they'd change from this back 5, to be honest, because I think it's their most effective system. Other lineups have put Gundogan out and Goretzka in because Goretzka did score against Hungary, and Gundogan hasn't really had that kind of minute so far in that kind of part in the tournament so far, or played that part, sorry, that we might have expected him to. But I feel like that role in a double pivot in a back, especially when you're playing a back 3, is quite restricted. So I'd probably put that down more to that. Havertz, we all know the player that he is, and Muller and Gnabry, right? A back 3 gives you a lot more cover, especially with the recovery pace of Walker as well.
Yeah.
Look, I don't think we'll play a ridiculously high line, but at the end of the day, we do want to play out from the back, which is possible. But it is possible to be attacking with the back 3, by the way. Just because it's a back 3 doesn't mean it's not. So Gnabry in behind, a Stones and Maguire, and then maybe a Havertz joining in here, because you got to remember these two will play quite narrow.
I think Havertz will be one of Germany's biggest threats, and for me, one of the changes I wouldn't mind actually making would be if you shifted Walker to a right wing back, although that would be an unfamiliar sort of territory for him. I don't think it's out of his realms. And you could even play James as that right centre back, because he did it in the FA Cup final against Leicester and actually played quite well there. Or you could take James out, shift Stones over next to Walker, Maguire in the middle, and Mings on the left.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. I see that. That's a definite possibility. Let me just. I haven't got Mings on here, have I? Okay. I'll just have to create Mings. Give me a second. I'm not going to bother with the number because I don't know what number he is. In fact, he's 15, isn't he?
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, let me just shift this over then. See, I get your point there, and to be honest, that does give you a bit more solidity, doesn't it?
Gives you a left footer in the back line as well.
It does. My only problem with that is that well, I haven't got a problem with it at all, but I'm just trying to look at my possible weaknesses, and there is still that kind of threat of Gnabry with the pace. Although you have got 3, so you've got a bit more room to cover there. That's a possibility.
Gnabry is naturally a wide player, so he wouldn't be.
He is.
Although he's playing that striker role, I don't think he'd be the most naturally central striker.
No.
I think you'd see him drift wide quite often.
Yeah, and you've seen that with his goals output so far in the tournament because he's got 0, I believe.
There you go.
Yeah, I guess even if he does drift wide a bit of these centre backs, he does take them out of the game, and you can see, especially in Muller, we all know how predatory Muller is in the box. He does provide that threat, but I actually wouldn't mind that at all. And often, if you see Trippier play like he did in the first game, it is to protect a player like Mings.
Yeah.
For me, I think this is my opinion. For me, I think that's maybe a bit too defensive because Walker doesn't seem to have done this kind of marauding up and down thing, which he did at Spurs all those years ago, in him anymore. Whether that's just a tactical thing or not, I don't know. Against Gozens, that could actually be quite effective. And I wouldn't mind that. But yeah, personally, I quite like Walker in that role.
Yeah, that's not bad. Personally, I would actually have taken Walker out and put Saka in at right wing back. Make us a bit more attacking, but still reasonably solid defensively.
Yeah, I like that. I don't mind that, but like I said, I just think Gozens is that much of a threat, and he's so attacking. Which, yeah, you can play the Saka pushing him back card. I've seen that teams do that and be successful many times in the past. But at the end of the day, there will be cases where he does have to defend. And yeah, you could probably say Walker comes across and does this role, but you've got Muller in there, you've but Havertz in there, you've got Gnabry. I personally wouldn't. I'd feel more under threat. But it is what it is. But yeah, Saka going forward can definitely do a job. And to be honest, Saka's pushing for a start easily after that Czech game.
Yeah, Saka and Grealish.
Easily. Saka and Grealish, easily the 2 best players on the pitch.
Yeah.
But yeah, where's James? Let me switch James again.
Would it be the most Gareth Southgate thing ever to not play either of them, though? Yes, it would.
Yes, I actually think I've got this bang on. The Sky Sports have put a tweet. Was it Sky? Someone's put a tweet out recently. I think it is Sky, where Foden is in contention to start again, and he probably is going to start again. And there is a serious chance of Mount starting.
Yeah. I've seen that he's considering bringing back Foden and Mount.
Yeah, but for me, if he plays Foden and Mount, I don't think we play a 3 at the back. I just can't see it.
No,
I don't think he will drop Sterling, and especially with the high line that Germany play, it wouldn't make sense to play Sterling against teams that sit deep and absorb pressure, but then not playing when a team plays a high line. It kind of it doesn't make much sense to me. So in that instance, you'd probably see, well, your Stones would probably be on the right way. You'd probably see, I don't know, Trippier. If Mings isn't playing, I don't see the point playing Trippier as a left back. Don't get me wrong, you could definitely deal with Kimmich more, but I don't think Kimmich gets like really up high, kind of like Gozens does.
We played a 4. I'd rather play Shaw.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I'd probably rather play Shaw. I've not actually made him either, Rafa. My bad.
Sick.
I wasn't going to create all of them, but let's just say Shaw's in there. Rice and Phillips will sit. And you'll probably see, where is he? Mount. I think in this case, he's going to drop Grealish and Saka. I don't think if you play Sterling in any game, it's probably this one against a team that hasn't got much pace at the back, and you can get in behind them. Look, I guess we are kind of writing off Neuer here because he plays that sweeper role so well. But this game just makes a bit more sense for a pacey player in behind.
Yeah.
Whereas someone like even a Saka, even though he has got that pace, he does like to drop in deep and have the ball to feet and turn, which can actually be a really effective thing at breaking Germany's lines. So I wouldn't mind that personally. Let's say that he doesn't start Mount and he plays Foden in there. What do you think of that?
I wouldn't be against it. I think Foden would have to turn up. I really do believe that team wouldn't tick if Foden doesn't turn up.
I agree.
Whereas
If Grealish plays,
if Grealish
I
plays,
think it does stick.
I think there is much more of a chance of us being more effective if Grealish plays that role instead, because Grealish has seemed more consistent so far. Foden has been unlucky, but he has been on the wing. So I don't know. I wouldn't mind playing Foden at right wing over Saka. But I just feel like I'd rather see Grealish in that side than Mount or Foden.
Hmm. What I don't think we'll see is actually Grealish on the left. I can't see that happening at all.
Me neither. I think Sterling and Kane are pretty much nailed on. Whereas, do you know what? One player, although, I gather I'm a Birmingham City fan, one player who wouldn't be too bad for this fixture in particular is Jude, on the basis that quite a lot of that Germany squad he's actually played against this season.
Yeah, this is the point I was about to make with Sancho as well.
Exactly. And there is that element of experience on how to defend and just kind of getting behind some of those players. And, Jude, although don't get me wrong, he's 17 years old, turns 18 tomorrow. So, it would be a birthday start for him if he was picked. But he's a lot older. His football brain is a lot older than his general age.
Yeah, it is. It is. I agree.
So, I just feel like this, if Bellingham's to start any game in the tournament, this is the perfect one. And he's more than capable of handling the pressure. Do I think he'll start? Probably not. But would I be surprised if he started? I actually wouldn't be that surprised, because I think Southgate would know that this is probably the best game for Bellingham.
Yeah, and not only for the reason of the opposition as well. If we're not going to have as much of the ball and we're not trying to break teams down, probably doesn't favour Phillips as much.
No. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if we do have the ball in these areas, Germany will press us. When I say these areas, I mean our sort of like defensive area. They will press us. So that
Jude is fantastic at protecting a back four.
It does fall into Phillips's hand. But I quite like the sound of Bellingham starting as well, because you've got that tenacity in midfield. Then you can really get onto Kroos and Gundogan. I think you have to start Rice as well, just because he's a bit more of a defensive player. But I wouldn't mind Bellingham as in there either. But to be honest, Phillips has done okay in the tournament so far, a lot better than a lot of people were expecting. So I wouldn't mind either of them playing in this game, really. I think it does suit Bellingham as well, though. So I don't think it's fair to just write him off, like you say. Just back to the formation for a second. This formation is a lot more kind of demanding of these wide players.
Of course.
So that has to be brought into consideration. Look, I know it's easy for viewers to kind of just say we don't want to be so negative. We don't want to just be worried about Germany all the time. Which, yeah, I agree. We do want to impose ourselves onto Germany as well, because there is flaws in that team. But let's not be like, 100% attack, or I'm not being 100% defend. I'm kind of being in the middle here, 50-50. I'm looking at both arguments and both sides of the game, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So it's good to look at strengths and weaknesses, and I promise you, this is exactly what Gareth does. It's not a game of FIFA, boys. So let's have a worry about Germany as well. But yeah, Tom, give me your ideal 11 right here, and I'll just fill it around for you and talk through every individual kind of part of it and where you see the strengths of England.
It's funny because that lineup right there is the exact lineup I'd pick.
Even Saka over Foden.
Yes, even Saka over Foden. And before that Czech Republic game, I'd have probably put Foden in there, or Sancho.
Saka would have been nowhere near my team, mate, if it wasn't for that Czech game. So.
Exactly. But Saka was unreal, and I think he deserves to start the next game just for picking up man of the match in the last game. However, if I was to take one player out, let's look at it this way: take out Rice, put in Henderson; take out Saka, put in Sancho. There's Hendo. Then Sancho in, Saka out. What are your thoughts on that lineup? Because I wouldn't be completely opposed to that.
I wouldn't be opposed.
Maybe it is less defensive in midfield, I guess, but
it is. It's a lot less defensive. I'll be honest. I wouldn't rely on Henderson given the amount of minutes that he's had. That's my worry with him. In terms of the play, absolutely no problem whatsoever. It's just the amount of minutes he has. And Gundogan and Kroos, maybe not Kroos so much, but Gundogan is quite a mobile midfielder. He gets around quite a lot. So, and with Havertz,
I think that's why you'd want Jude up against Gundogan and Henderson matching Kroos.
Maybe so.
I would prefer to play Rice, but I'd be okay with Henderson in there.
Don't be surprised, by the way, if Kroos picks the ball up in let's say just these areas here, and he looks for these balls in behind Shaw and Maguire in this kind of channel here, because that was the kind of ball he was picking out. Did you watch the game between Liverpool and Real Madrid, the first leg in the Champions League?
I did, yeah.
Kroos was given the role to just target Trent with balls over the top of him, balls in and around him for Vinicius Jr. And that's exactly how they scored their first goal, even though they'd done it 4 or 5 times in the first half an hour anyway. Right, so don't be surprised if Kroos tries to pick these balls out, because it's not kind of the role that Muller would do. Maybe Gosens over this side, but that's quite a wide kind of thing and a lot of a harder pass to make. But I think this is definitely a strength of Germany.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I wouldn't mind Trippier coming in just because he does tuck in a bit more. I'm not saying that's what I do. That's just a thing that you could look at. But in terms of, so like I said, Henderson, for me, I don't mind him as the player, but the minutes is a problem for me. So I personally wouldn't want to rely on him too much.
Yeah.
In this game, I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah. So if you want my 11 though, personally, it would be Rice and Bellingham, and then Sterling, Kane, and Saka as the 3, and then kind of Grealish in the number 10. However, I wouldn't be opposed to Rashford coming into the squad either.
I wouldn't be either, to be completely honest. It's kind of just like an injury kind of thing as well, because he is having a surgery after the tournament, isn't he? So he's not 100%. Yeah. Maybe more, I see him as maybe a bit more of an impact player if we're chasing a game, or someone like Sterling is not performing, or so on. I think it's harsh on Sancho, because I probably would have Saka in as well.
Yeah, it's harsh on Sancho, but it's just the way it is. I think Saka has to play that next game. But no, that 11 bar Phillips and swapping for Bellingham would be my ideal 11. What would your ideal?
Except with Tom, you'd have Shaw as well.
Oh yeah, I'd have Shaw over Trippier.
Yeah, This is the team. I'll be honest, I'd be looking at. Like I said, people can say I'm worried too much about Germany and I'm being too defensive, but I'm just looking at Germany's strengths. I would just want to win the game. So I'm worried about that side. Havertz, ball over from Kroos, Kimmich over there, and the pace as well in and around these players. I think they do need a bit more defensive cover. That's another reason for Walker as well. This role is quite demanding of Saka, but I think he's got the defensive work rate to do it.
He does. Well, I mean, naturally, he's a wing back.
I think the only problem would be if we're getting penned in by Germany and Saka's getting back here to help out Walker in this kind of area. Let's just drag Gnabry over here as well. I think if we're getting penned in and we're kind of looking to hit Germany on the break a little bit, because Germany might be having a spell in the game or whatever, it doesn't seem like we've got any real out ball. because look, Saka's obviously got pace, but he loves to have the ball to feet and turn, which look, it's not a bad thing at all. But what you do like is kind of this straight ball in behind.
Yeah.
Look, Rudiger will probably cover that quite well, but as Kimmich just kind of sit a little bit. I think he's a bit more of a defensive player than Gosens, because Gosens is a winger by trade, right? So yeah, I still have Saka in the team because I feel like if he does turn Gosens, then we can get at them, especially with these runners forward. Does kind of favour maybe a Mount over Grealish though, but I think it's hard to drop Grealish after that and the circumstances given Mount's been isolating. So yeah, that's the team I'd go with. What are your thoughts on that? Let me just drag all these players back.
I won't be against it. Yeah. I can understand picking Trippier. I just feel like I think we saw in the last game, with the system, the only player that didn't seem to fit well for that Czech Republic game was Phillips, and that was why he was taken off at half time. So to be honest, if that's your starting 11, literally the only player I think I would change is Calvin Phillips, not because he's had a bad tournament at all, because he has had some brilliant moments and some decent games. But I just think based off knowledge of the opposition, I would be more inclined for Bellingham over Phillips. Other than that, I am happy to go with that 11 right there.
Look, all these players here that are missing out, it's harsh on a lot of them.
Pretty much all of them,
Sancho, it's harsh on. He's obviously one of our most creative outlets. Bellingham, it's harsh on for the reasons that you've said. Andy probably matches up the midfield as well. Foden, it's harsh on because of the season he's had. Mount, it's harsh on. I think it's hard to start Mount, especially after all this not being able to train with the team. So I probably wouldn't have him in for that reason. But you'd probably assume him not even being in the squad in that case. But
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, there's a kind of look at both of the teams and how they might line up in terms of any changes to Germany. Possible changes. Goretzka might come in. He did come on against Hungary for Gundogan, and he did actually score. Werner could easily come in for someone like a Muller, give them a bit more pace. Sané actually started against Hungary as well, so he could start in there. And yeah, the only other change I can really see Germany making that makes a big difference is them changing to a back four, because there's been rumours of thing. I think it's been in the Athletic. Someone's done a piece. So we're kind of worried about matching Germany up. They're actually doing the same thing, but the other way around. Kind of worrying about us. So yeah, maybe like a 4. I've actually got 12 players on the pitch here, haven't I? Yeah. Have I got? Yeah, I do, don't I? Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what they do if they change to a back four in terms of if they do a 4-3-3 or a 4-4-2, whatever. But that's the only other change I can really see Germany making. That'd make a huge difference. But yeah, guys, that's kind of just all the analysis we've got. I can assure you Southgate will be doing a lot more in depth than that. But yeah, there are 11s. Tom, you can put them on the screen now if you want in the edit. But
shall
yeah, I'll leave that to you. But that's kind of it. That's kind of it, guys. So yeah, I'll just stop the screen share there, and I guess we'll just give our final predictions.
Final score predictions? Go
on then, Tom. You go first, mate.
I do think we'll concede our first goal of the tournament. This is horrible. I'm going to go 2 on England.
In 90 or in extra time, or
in 90? In 90. I think Germany will take a 1-0 lead, and we will look to respond, and I think we will do that. And I think it could be 1-1 at half time. I could see that. And then I reckon it'll be a reasonably late winner for England. Not late, but last 10 minutes or so.
Fair enough. I would have actually said the same thing, but for sake of differential, I'm actually going to say 2-1 after extra time.
Okay.
I think there's easily a possibility of us going into the break at 1-0, or sorry, at 0-0. And then maybe us scoring and then Germany equalising. Bit of a kind of getting a repeat of the Colombia and the World Cup vibes from this. But then I think we could take it into extra time and win. I think we've got.
I think we could win on
players.
penalties as well. You know,
We could win on penalties, although let's not go that far. We
yeah,
don't want to go through that. I think we've got better players on the bench that can actually impact the game as well. Germany have as well, but I think we've just got better. So I think there's a chance of us kind of snatching a winner late on or in extra time as well. But yeah, that's kind of my prediction.
Fair enough, mate. I suppose that wraps up the first episode of hopefully a long Euro preview series for England, hopefully all the way to the final and beyond. So there we are. But thank you for joining us, guys. It's been a pleasure chatting to you all as always. Leave your comments down below and your thoughts on what and how you'd line up and what you think Southgate will do. And what do you think of our lineups? I think that would be a good question to get answered. But no, drop a like if you fancy it, and we'll see you in the next one.
See you later, guys.